Are you a fan of chocolate cake? You know the chocolate cake I'm talking about, not a sponge cake, the kind that's almost molten in the center, and it's got a little bit of a crisp on the outside. Super indulgent, super satisfying, really dense, not quite fudge, not quite a brownie, chocolate cake. If you're a fan of that, you're in luck. We're making it today, and it's actually surprisingly easy. I hope you'll stick with me. Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm really happy to have you here today. We are making that chocolate cake. You know the one, that luscious French bakery kind of chocolate cake. It's super, super easy. You do need a little bit of special equipment for this cake. A stand mixer or a hand mixer definitely makes your life significantly easier because we're gonna be beating eggs and sugar together for like 5+ minutes. And then a springform pan, which just means that the bottom pops out of the pan and so you can separate it a little bit easier. But we'll deal with that in a second. The thing that is required of this cake is time. It's not a really quick last-minute cake, but I can almost guarantee that putting it together will take a lot less time than a frosted sponge cake. So this is one to try for sure. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually get started melting our butter and chocolate. So I'll have all the measurements in the description box below, but all I would recommend doing is combine your chocolate and your butter and pop them in your microwave. You start with a 30-second burst and stir it, and then continue on with 20-second bursts, stirring in between each one. You want to take the chocolate out before it is completely melted because the heat of the butter and the chocolate will melt that last little bit. This is actually done. It took 30 seconds is all. I don't think we've scorched it, but it went really quickly because my butter had been sitting out on the counter for a while. And if you feel like yours needs another 20-second burst, go for it. Just keep an eye on it. You don't want it to boil. You don't want it to start to steam. You just kind of want to do it quite gently. Chocolate is melted and cooling, so now we move on to the rest of the cake. The recipe that I've developed uses 3 whole large eggs plus 1 yolk, brown sugar, a couple tablespoons of cake flour, vanilla, and a little bit of finely ground sea salt. The first step in this actually is to combine the brown sugar and the eggs in our mixer. Okay, so that's 3 eggs plus 1 yolk. And now I'm gonna whisk this together for like 5+ minutes. What we want it to do is really lighten in color to get a little bit of body and just to look silky, silky smooth. It's been about 4.5 minutes. This is really luscious. It's lightened in color. It looks very voluminous, so it's ready. So the next step is to stream in a little bit of vanilla. I measure vanilla with my heart, so I'm gonna use about a teaspoon. Fine sea salt. The salt is super necessary here to counterbalance all of the sweetness and the dark chocolate. Salt and dark chocolate work really well together. About 1/2 teaspoon. Give that another quick little whisk. Now it's time to stream in our chocolate. We want to do this very slowly because we don't want to cook the eggs. This chocolate is actually cooled down quite a bit, but I'm gonna still stream it in extremely slowly. The chocolate has all been incorporated. The next and final step is to sift in a little bit of cake flour. This is just a couple tablespoons, but I'm gonna run it through a sieve. Now we just mix that until combined. We're all done. I am gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl and incorporate a little bit of flour, but I'm gonna do that by hand. This looks absolutely amazing. So while our eggs were mixing, I prepared our springform pan. Super easy preparation. Butter the bottom and the sides. Use a small round of parchment paper, stick it to the bottom, and then butter the parchment paper. You're just ensuring absolutely no stickage for this beautiful cake. This is completely done. Now we're gonna put it in our springform pan, and we're gonna let it rest in the fridge for about an hour. been about an hour and we are ready for the oven. My oven is preheated to 250 degrees and our cake has firmed up significantly. Because I have trust issues, I'm gonna use a cookie sheet. I always worry that a springform pan will leak. It's tough to tell you how long this will cook. We can't use a cake tester because if it comes out clean, we've overdone our cake. What we're looking for is that the top looks dry, the edges have kind of started to pull away from the side of the springform, but the center still has a jiggle. That's what will give it the luscious, luxurious, molten mouthfeel that we're looking for. Your nose will know when your kitchen starts smelling like chocolate, it's probably time to take it out. And if you're worried about it at all, err on the side of not cooked versus overcooked. So we're gonna get this in the oven. I'm not even gonna set a timer. I'm just gonna hang out in close proximity to my kitchen, and when I start being hungry for chocolate cake, I'll know that it's probably done. And I do believe our chocolate cake is done. So what I'm looking for is it's got some darkness and pulling away from the sides. The top springs back when you touch it, but it's still pretty jiggly on the inside. It took almost exactly 45 minutes, like 44.5 minutes, which is right within the range. It's taken 40 minutes for me before, and it's taken 50 minutes at this size with these ingredients. The only thing we have to do now is wait. So this is gonna go on a rack in the pan to cool until it's cool enough to put in the fridge. I'm gonna put it in the fridge overnight, and we'll cut into it tomorrow and see what it looks like. I cannot wait. It absolutely smells like chocolate in here, which was my first clue that this cake was done. So onto a rack it goes, and I'll see you tomorrow to cut into it and see how we did. Good morning. It's officially the next day and time to cut into our cake. I'm gonna do a couple of things first just to zhuzh it up a little bit. The first thing, and this is definitely not traditional, but I'm gonna top mine with a little bit of flaky salt. I'm also going to mix a little bit of a topper for our chocolate cake. I'm gonna use just a couple tablespoons of mascarpone cheese and a tiny little bit of powdered sugar, probably a tablespoon, but we'll mix it and see. So while I was waiting overnight for our cake to set up, I was thinking about the first time I ate this cake, and it actually was not that long ago. My friend Ben, he's one of those almost professional home chefs that loves a dinner party, loves trying new recipes. 95% of our text messages are new recipes. He made this chocolate cake, and at the end of the dinner party, he whispered to me, "It's really easy." I was like, I am sold. So he sent me the recipe that he's been using for years, and I recreated it. I think my toxic trait is that I always want to change a recipe just a little bit. So I embarked on a journey of making this recipe my own. And one of the key determinants for that was I wanted people to be able to use an 8-inch springform pan, which is much more common than his recipe, which called for a 7-inch. So the recipe that's included in the description box below is my version, but the original version certainly didn't call for flaky salt. It also didn't call for mascarpone. You could use crème fraiche here. You could just eat the cake without anything on top. But a dollop of something kind of tart and sweet is really nice with this cake. But now it's time to cut into this cake. So one of the things I am gonna do is actually heat my knife a little bit so I get a very clean cut. Okay, glass of hot water, a knife, and a clean kitchen towel. So I'm just gonna submerge my knife in the hot water for just a few seconds, give it a wipe, and then go in for the cut. Like butter. Same thing. Looks amazing. It truly melts in your mouth. I love that flaky sea salt on top because the dark chocolate is kind of bitter. You can taste definite sweetness, but the flaky salt just really brings everything together. It really just melts on your tongue. This might be the cake of my dreams. Thanks so much for being here today and yesterday. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe to my channel. If you make this cake, absolutely leave me a comment and let me know what you think or what you'd do differently. I can't wait to hear about it. I hope to see you here next time. Cheers.